I've heard it said that many men would rather be miserable than vulnerable. Do you agree? And how much trust? Okay, well, how much trust do you need before you fully open up to someone? So that's like a. I heard the. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yes, absolutely. Because unfortunately, your vulnerabilities can be used against you by any and everybody that has them. And all of us can agree that the one thing that we agree on are the safety of the entire family, including ourselves, is our sole responsibility. So we have to protect that. We cannot allow ourselves to be vulnerable as men in most situations, because even with the people that love you the most, sometimes when they get mad at you, it's coming back. And when they have that against you, when you're not sure how you're going to respond in a situation, you can't be giving that information out. So I'd much rather be unhappy, miserable, whatever you want to call it, you know, but my kids are straight, everybody all right, don't nobody want to blow my head off, I can go to sleep at night. We'll work on vulnerabilities back in the corner by myself when I can. Yeah, nah. So yeah, yeah.
No,
No,
maybe not. Go ahead, Chris.
so I would actually rather be vulnerable than miserable because when I was miserable, it led to depression. And I find it more therapeutic for me to be vulnerable with, well, when I do have a partner or with my friends because it's therapeutic to let it off my chest. It may not be the healthiest way, but I think I try to range what I should and shouldn't say, but I try to be articulate enough to get the message across. I have very, very, very many dark days from from holding things in that I just vowed to myself for my mental health, for my child, and for the people that really love me, not to get in those depressive stages just because I refuse to not let it out and to just try to deal with misery because that's unfortunately what I've seen from what my peers, from people I looked up to, this notion of what a man's supposed to be. And I said, I don't want to do that. I'd rather die being authentic rather than be miserable with a smile.
Okay, so for me personally, um, I was miserable because I didn't want to be vulnerable, and like Christian said, it led to depression, like unhealthiness, weight gain, the entire 9 yards. But once I met the young lady I'm with now, like I told her for the first few months, and she never understood. I always called her my lowest lane. She never understood it because when, like, as a black man, I'm gonna say it as a black man, when we walk out those doors, you have to be Superman. You have to have a cape on. You have to protect the black woman, the black child, the community, your brothers, whoever. That's how we're raised to protect. So to find a partner in her that I could come home and take that cape off and be Clark Kent and open up and be vulnerable to, it made it easier for me to put that cape back on and hit the world. Because for however long I'm sitting there, I could lay on the sofa and put my head on her lap and to feel her rub my back. That day was okay. I made it. The kids sleep, the bills paid, everybody ate. I did it. Now I got enough strength to get up tomorrow. Thank God for waking me up and do it again. So it's okay to be vulnerable, but who are you going to be vulnerable with and how are they going to use that vulnerability?
Vulnerability, that weakness, your kryptonite, right? Um, we need to find out who knows about the kryptonite, who can know about our weaknesses, right? Clark Kent didn't tell everybody. He didn't tell everybody, right? He told his closest friends. You know, Batman knew. You know what I'm saying? Bruce Wayne knew.
Where to get him?
Right? Um, I find that it's very good, like my guy said, to be vulnerable to the right people. You know, I said earlier that even myself, right, I go to therapy. I talk to a therapist. You know, sometimes we can't be vulnerable with everybody, right? We can't show that weakness to everybody. We can't show our kryptonite to everybody. However, even Superman had somebody that knew his weakness.
Okay. Everybody knows Psalms 27, right? The Lord is the strength of my life. Whom shall I fear? So we can be vulnerable, but we need to know Jesus. because he's going to protect you. Now, miserable, I've been miserable, man, and been vulnerable all at the same time. When I was raising those grandboys of mine, I was miserable and I was vulnerable. Because, see, my children was grown when they came. They was grown. Me and my wife, we was lining up our retirement. We was in the travel. But then we get dropped 4 boys. I became miserable. Invulnerable. Amen. Because I've been working all my life. I was ready to sit at home. And then God spoke to me. That's when he called me to preach. 2 years. I was making the best money in my life. And the Lord said, quit your job. Because I need to talk to you. For 2 years. Thing about it, I was vulnerable. But could nobody touch me. I wasn't broke. I had 2 cars. I was buying a house. My wife looked like $50 bill, $100 bill every time she come out. That's who he is. So we can be both miserable and vulnerable.
That's kind of what I want to allude to, because, in preface to the statement that I made, what I learned was, okay, first off, there's a bunch of roads to the same destination a lot of times. So there is no necessarily a right or wrong way to go about how you apply it. The reason I make the decision of I'd much rather be miserable than vulnerable, because in situations of being miserable, those are usually, especially from a mental health standpoint, those are usually situations that I seem to have more control on. But if any of you've truly been vulnerable, especially with somebody that you love, because one thing we learned about it, if you truly love somebody, you're giving said person everything they need to hurt you. And that's a level of hurt that you wouldn't prepare for because they weren't supposed to do it. Vulnerable, being vulnerable can hurt in ways that a lot of brothers out there that, especially that don't have the mental strength or capacity to deal with, they only know how to lash out physically. And so that's a whole nother level of danger when you start getting extremely vulnerable. Whereas people I might be miserable, but as long as my kids is fed, I'm doing what I need to do as a father. As long as they got what they need, I have some sources, some comfort in the fact that, okay, I'm holding this down. So I figure out how to find my happiness, and that goes back to my mental health. But that's why if I have to pick between the two, because to your point, Pastor, plenty of us have had situations where we've been miserable and we've been miserable while being vulnerable. But you can only fix what you can fix, control what you can control. And that's how we have to move out. That's why I made the decision I made.
I like how we had the dialogue between ourselves, right? And I would like to say that I do agree that we can be vulnerable and miserable at the same time, right? We, men, women, we can partition certain things within ourselves, and it have varying degrees. Even within my past, right? Getting out the military, that was during the time period I had the most legal trouble. Encounter, arrest, court, serious things, right? That in my mind at the time was very career threatening, very life threatening. You know what I'm saying? However, with the Lord on our side, you know what I'm saying? We're speaking to certain people, we're going to therapy. You're able to maintain certain things and drive forward with that being on our back, being vulnerable to the right people, and until those feelings subside.
I think it's important that we be mindful that misery loves company, right? So even when you're being vulnerable to somebody, I think you might have mentioned it, they might join in that misery. They might not even help you come out of that misery. And then when you're being vulnerable, you might leave more worse off than you came. So I think discernment is very important in that. When you're being vulnerable and in situations that you're being vulnerable in, you got to have discernment in those certain situations. So
And that goes back to you got to be careful who you fooling with, because whoever you laying down with, if you can't be vulnerable with them, then you in the wrong bed. That's just my opinion. So, right, know who you talking to. So, with mental health diagnosis among men continue to rise, Yet many men still avoid seeking help. Why do you think so many men are afraid of therapy or asking for support? Now, I am a firm believer in God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good. And I understand that prayer, God answers them. But the same way, this is my opinion. I'm gonna get it out before y'all talk, okay? So the same way we can go to the doctor when we break our leg, why can't we sit on somebody's couch when our heart is broken? Anybody can answer it.
Yeah, I think that's because of the way for black men now. That's the way society views us. It's scary to do that. They already are kind of putting their foot on our necks. That's at least that's how we feel a lot of the time. So for us to go to somebody and say yes, I'm weak, that's scary. And then it's somebody that we don't know or somebody that has the ability to, put their foot further on our neck. I think for me, it was scary. And I've been to several psychologists, psychiatrists, whichever one. Okay. Um, I've sat on a few couches, but even in sitting on those couches, it wasn't, I didn't feel I could be fully open with them. So in my mind, it wasn't going to work because I wasn't being authentic, you know. And I tried a black one, I tried a white one, I tried a Hispanic one, I tried a male one, I tried a female one. Um, and for me, I still struggle to really be open in those type of scenarios. But I have a strong home. I have a strong family. I have a strong wife. I have my kids and my dad and parents stuff like that too that I can confide in more so. But they're not professionals, so so I do think it is important to at least try. And I like I said, I've tried. And I'm still I still need it, and we still try. But I think marriage counseling was totally different than me going by myself. But I think that's the reason we're scared. It's scary.
Um, I'm a therapist. How you guys? um, yes, I am. Yeah. So this past year, fortunately, if I had more men clients come in, right, more male clients or more black male clients. Some of those guys were court ordered. Some of those guys came in on their own. Um, the issues that I see that they have, right, even speaking with me directly, is men have this competitiveness amongst ourselves, right?
True.
And it even comes into the therapy session a lot of times. They don't want to seem weak. They don't want to seem like something is going on wrong with them. It's hard to share, right? Um, it's hard to open up. And even sometimes, when we're trying, on the therapeutic side, and we're trying to what we call probe and progress, process with a person, we find that we have some difficulties breaking through those shells. Um, Let me say this: I don't trust therapists that don't have their own therapist, so I do go to therapy myself. Hey, I go to therapy myself. Um, I try to go to therapy myself at least once a month, right? Right now, I talk to mine about once a week. It's very important that we understand therapy is not only when we're going through negative things. It's not only when we're going through negative things. Just like church is not only when we're going through negative things. You go to therapy, talk about the good stuff. Talk about the stuff that's made you smile and laugh that week. Talk about the things that's made you excited. What things are coming up. You might have a 45-minute session about, your plans for Christmas.
I would like to piggyback just in answering the question. You said why is there such a fear? Well, I mean, you've heard a lot of solutions, which I agree wholeheartedly as far as getting the help that you need. But as far as the fear, I would like to say, sometimes we minimize the traumatic experiences that a lot of brothers go through, and then, we ask someone, a proper analogy would be like, okay, he stuck his hand in an ant bed and it almost cost him his hand. Then you fast forward down the road and we ask him, well, why don't you open up about that ant bed? That man don't want to talk about that, man. He got hurt in ways that, he don't ever want to revisit that again. And for a lot of brothers, you you put them in a position like, okay, well, why don't you open up about what's going on? And he's trying to close. That traumatic experience may hurt him way more than a lot of people understand. And so sometimes you got to give people that grace and understand that, okay, well, just let them know I want to help you, but I want to help you at your pace because everybody's struggle is different. And that, but as far as why we fear opening up, it's because a lot of times we know what's on the other side of opening up. Oh, we've been burned down that. You know, we've been burned in this avenue before. We've been vulnerable with people that we shouldn't have been vulnerable with. And even though you say, okay, well, that was the wrong person, find somebody else, that doesn't change how that felt. You remember how it felt to be hurt like that. You remember how it felt to choose the wrong woman or have a bad baby mama. You remember these things. And as brothers that, we're put in positions where in the end, we still have to fix said problem. You still got to show up, even when you ain't, you know, in your best capacity to do so. You have to show up. So there are certain things that we're not going to open up about because if it gets in the way of my ability to show up, even though it's excused, I'm still the problem. That's where that fear comes from in a lot of cases.
Um, well, for me, I believe it's the environments that we come from. Mental health wasn't actually treated as a priority as far as men is concerned. I don't think really became, I guess, a voice of reason maybe until the last 5 to 7 years that I can actually remember. I think it started to really come out more when we started going through the pandemic. But for myself, I know that when I started taking my mental health a little bit more serious is after my divorce. But my father, my uncles, anybody I looked up to, they never ever talked about going to talk to someone. It was always going back to the Bible. Maybe it was out of fear, but it just seemed like, unfortunately, it seemed like it just recently became trendy to go look at those problems. Now, it probably came with experience. It probably came with maturity. I will say for me, it definitely came with experience and coming from dark places. But for the most part, I really didn't prioritize it until I got really deep in a hole where I had to go talk to someone like you specify someone licensed because there was only so much I was going to tell my mom. There was only so much I want to tell a few of my friends. And even recently, I never find that safe space on who I was laying down with to really go the extra mile on what I'm going through. Because even when I was trying to give a cry for help, all they saw was the cry. They didn't never give me the help. So, so yeah, I just think that now mental health is just now became, I hate to say trendy, but now prioritized for us men.
So, quick story. Back when I first started therapy, I was at the barbershop, bunch of guys, how we do, sitting around, kicking the bobo, talking, whatever. And I had brought up to a guy that I was going to therapy. And let's just say 6 or 7 guys in the barbershop, 4 or 5 laugh, like, therapists, whatever their answers were, vulgar answers were. But after I left the barbershop, one of the guys that laughed caught me outside. I was like, bro, how long you been going to therapy? And I was like, thought it was funny. And then we both shared a laugh. And I was like, nah, for real. I gave my therapist name and number, black female. And I told him, I said, bro, everybody laughing about it, but I appreciate you for coming to me because it has helped me. So when you speak about the fear, it's the fear of how our own people are going to look at us. Because we're going to be looked at, oh, you need help. You can't do it on your own. No one can do it on their own. And true enough, we can get stuff in and out the Bible. We can go to God with everything we have. But to actually talk to someone that's licensed to listen and tell us what's going on with us helps more than we really realize. I don't feel like I have any more mental problems because I'm not depressed, but I still talk to my therapist. And like he said, a lot of times I talk to my therapist about what's good going on in my life because now I have somebody to rejoice it with me besides my wife, besides whoever else I talk to. Somebody else is happy that I'm doing well. That gives me a sense of pride. So when I leave out the therapist's office or off the phone with her, it's like, yeah, okay, bet. So let me see what more I can do to be better.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to tap him on the shoulder because see, this is exactly what he just said. Because see, in past time, generations prior to now, nobody talked about it, mental health. Nobody wanted to go. Back in my day, you said, yeah, if you talked about something was going on in your head, they said you was crazy, and they didn't want to be bothered with it. Stay from around us or whatever. But see, now, now we're in a place where everything evolves. Okay, so now, like this young man, he realized that he was in a dark place. We have a grandson. I was talking to y'all that in the military. We had him in the mental institution. He walked away, and they said, "Well, if he leave, we not gonna go and get it." You know, he was doing good. Okay, so he never went back. So he still have the problem. But it's just like what you said also. He won't say what the problem is. He knows it, but he won't mention it. Because when you ask him, what's the problem? He clams up. You can see it in his eyes. It comes to mind. He know what it is, but he won't say because he's afraid it's going to overtake him. And see, now he has a child. He has a lady friend. He's not married, but she's afraid of it. Why? Because it haunts him at night. The house burned down a few months ago. I don't know whether he was the culprit or not. Nobody got hurt. The baby's fine. But it haunts him. And he's fighting. And he won't let anybody in. Paul, Nana, nobody. Because it's a dark secret he's afraid to share. And here you all young men up here talking about your past and your hurt. Oh, you're going to be blessed. Because, see, you're getting healed. We all getting healed. I heard my deacon out there. He's a amen because, see, he knows that when we talk as men together and not trying to outdo one another, we can help one another.
I just want to, because everyone said what they said. Can you say that one more time for me? I got a lot of information.
All right. The mental health diagnosis amongst men continues to rise, yet many men still avoid seeking help. Why do you think so many men are afraid of therapy or asking for support?
All right. So just thinking on my personal experience, I think um, coming up as a child is where it really starts. And when unfortunately we do have a lot of single mother homes, where we're without that male guidance who would talk to us about what they went through. So then we know how to deal with it as we come up. And that's one thing that I've been extremely serious about when it comes to my boys is their mental. And anytime they lash out, they get a response from mama, but they also get a response from daddy. And I think that's where we're missing is like we have a lot of young men coming up with one side guidance, and there's nothing wrong with getting that from your mother, but you need it from a man's standpoint. It's extremely different, and that's one thing I've been very serious when it comes to my boys, and I do not allow anyone to stop me from giving them that male side of how it really is. And so, I mean, I think about this one incident. My son was dating, well, I didn't say they was too young at the time, but had a little friend that he was liking, chatting on the phone with her, and got extremely emotional. And his response, in a way, um, I was upset. But the guys he got from his mama, it made no sense because at the end of the day, he's still a young man. He's still a young boy. And I had to give him the perspective of if that was my daughter and I saw her get a response from another man like another young boy like that, this is how I would react. And so that really opened up his eyes. And so so I do think that's what we're missing is so many boys coming up, they're not hearing it from us. And so that's what we're missing. We just got to get more together. It's letting the boys vent, but let them talk to another man. It can be an uncle, granddad, but we have to, as a community, be willing to accept young boys, But also, I do think from the women's side, give them to give them to that man because he need to get it from how he's gonna come up. He's not gonna come up like a young woman. He's gonna follow our footsteps, and so I think that's the biggest thing as far as being fear because they're scared of the accountability. See, that's where we come in at, and so and I know I say it all the time. That's one word I'm so serious about. Christian heard me say it 10 million times to my friends, even at work. They know Woven is the accountability manager, and so I'm gonna hold you accountable. So when you do feel some way, I need you. The pastor was touching on. He's scared to accept the accountability, and so we got to get him to a point to where it's like he can express himself, and then okay, now we know what it is. Let's see how we can fix it.
Nice, nice. So I hear a lot of, young boys, what we got to do for our young boys, but there are some girl dads that's on the panel. And so what does that look like from a father's perspective with their daughter? As far as,
I'm wrong because I give my daughter everything she asks for. I have I have a 16-year-old daughter. She's a junior in high school, and I have a 5-year-old daughter. And when I tell you those are daddy princesses, my pretty princesses as I call them, they don't hear no. Now I know it's wrong to an extent, but for me it's more or less, and I'm not gonna say they always get told yes, but my 5-year-old will stand by the door until daddy opens it. My daughters don't open doors when we go to grocery stores and to the mall. They don't open the car door. Like daddy's setting a precedence. So when you go out into this world, you don't let just any man Atlanta you to death. Well, we going to Atlanta. My daddy been took me to Atlanta since I was 3 years old. Do bigger, do better. Why am I standing outside this car and it's raining? Like I walk to the door when I get my daughters if it's raining with an umbrella because I want them to understand. So it's a level that we have to do. But having daughters, I do not raise my daughters like I raise my boys, and I know accountability that it's not right, but that mother is teaching her how to be a woman. I'm teaching her how the man is supposed to treat her. I can't raise that little girl to be a woman because I ain't, I can go buy your pass for you because I'm a grown man and I'm not afraid of it. But I don't know what to do when it's, I don't, they all got wings to me. But all I know is that's daddy's princess. Daddy cannot, yes. And my 5-year-old, her mama got on to me the other day. She FaceTimed me. Daddy, I don't want what mama cooked. What you want? And I Uber eat it. I sent it to her. And her mama called me 45 minutes later. Richard, yes, I know I was wrong. But I sent you something too. Did I make it up? But it didn't help. But let me not being funny, but I didn't send her anything. But I did send my daughter some food. And I understood, like, you're doing too much. She needs to understand. I get it. But at the same time, I need her to understand that daddy's going to always provide. No matter if it's a chicken nugget meal, a new dress, or the daddy-daughter dance. Daddy going to be there.
Um, I've seen girls get married and the dad gives the daughter away.
Oh boy.
You know what I'm saying? I haven't gave my daughter away. She ain't at that age yet. She's sitting over there. You know what I'm saying? She a little girl, and until that time frame, everything she need, I'm gonna take care of. Right? I'll be on that timing too. If she calls, I want this to eat, Daddy. It's coming over there. My daughter can call me and ask, check her out of school. I go check her out of school to get lunch, right? Now, I was speaking on that earlier, making sure we spend time with our children in these co-parenting situations, right? That is what I was speaking on. Going to the school, checking your kids out, eating lunch with them, making that time frame. Because as long as you got the paperwork, the school's gonna let you in there. They're gonna let you check your children out, eat lunch with your children. They may even provide a room for you to eat lunch with your child and talk to them, engage with them. Um, Speaking on the co-parenting thing, or just raising a daughter as a dad, I feel that our position is fundamental. It is a fundamental place in our daughters' lives, our children's lives, point blank, but our daughters' lives. They're looking at that. They're looking at how we treat them. They're looking at how we treat other people, how we treat other women. You know, and that's important. You know,
I would like to elaborate. I mean, I have sons, but you know, I've got a couple of siblings that, of course, I've got nieces that they don't actively have fathers in their life. So I try to step in when I can. And the consensus that I've came to with my siblings are, we're going to work to give these girls every tool that they need to make the right decision. As far as and I used to implement the same thing with my sons. My objective as a parent was just to make sure that I'm gonna give you everything you need to make the right decision. So that when you make the wrong one, they can't turn around and look at me and be like, well, you didn't know no better. Nah, that's not the case. I'm gonna make sure you got everything. Now, what you choose to do with that information, I may try. I'll offer everything I can to try to steer, especially with them young ladies. There are so many things I'm gonna tell you that you shouldn't do, and then you're gonna walk right out there because that boy talks smooth, and he's about 6'5", on the basketball team and all that good, all that gonna go out the window. But what you can't do is look at us and say you didn't know no better. So that's the biggest thing that I look at, is making sure that every child got all the tools that they need to make the right choice.
So, as an advocate girl dad, I think I teach my daughter now, well, not even now, but on our upbringing or in her upbringing, everything that I was learning along the way as a person. So the number one thing was always accountability. It was very important for me to let her know what accountability looked like, especially as a woman. The sense of entitlement. Everything is not going to be given, some things have to be earned. The discipline that is going to take, whether you're going to the classroom, going to the corporate offices, or even in a relationship, what that looked like. I want to teach you how to be a better person, not just be my princess. Because what I want to teach you going to value as you extend in life, not just while you're under my roof. So I just want to teach her fundamental principles of just being a good human, being sensible, trusting your instincts, being independent, learning the basis of cooking, learning how to manage your money, the fundamentals. So I just really always be 100% authentic with her, which is why I feel like our relationship is where it is, because I don't sugarcoat it. I give you the lemon and I give you the lemonade. But whatever you taste like, whatever you want to taste like that day, you're going to get it from me. And I noticed that whether between me and her mother, if she wanted soft, she'll get it from her. But if she knows she need to have the raw, she'll get it from me. But she get a healthy balance from both where she'll know how to apply it. So.
Yeah, he went right where I went. I have 3 daughters, and my youngest is 11 now. She just graduated 5th grade, and she's in the house the majority of the time with her mother, and she has seen in her years growing up how I treat her mother, and I spoil her mother a little bit, and she did start developing a sense of entitlement. I didn't realize it, right? So we have to teach them the fundamentals first. In a sense, your mom earned this, in a sense, you have to do things to earn your keep at this point. However, there are things that I will, give you. There are things that I am obligated in my mind to give you. However, if I just gave you $20 today, and then tomorrow you ask for another $20, I'm not gonna give you a 20. I'm gonna ask you. Well, hold on. Let me digress. I might give it to you if you can explain to me what you done with the 20 I gave you yesterday, and if it went to something efficient, I might give you that $20. But you have to. There is an accountability part. What did you do with the $20 I just gave you yesterday? And that's with my oldest daughter also. I did what he did. I would just give and just do whatever, and it created it created her. And but at the same time, I do think there is a sense of we're we're preparing them to have a standard, and we're not just preparing them not to just accept anything, to accept anything. Unfortunately, I seen that with my sisters. My father was somewhat of a disciplinary, um, and I think as soon as they could get up and off and under his finger, they did. And it from my opinion, it didn't it wasn't beneficial for them in their lives, and but I think with my daughters, one thing I do have to uh, put forward with them is accountability, and at the same time, taking responsibility for yourself. You are a princess. You are beautiful. You are amazing. We say that. I was reading text messages from my daughter where I say that to her often, so that she knows who she is, but she also have to know who she is and who she belongs to, and at the same time, that comes with, accountability for self and self awareness.
I love it. Foundational pretty princesses. That's how raising girls go. So fathers, foundational pretty princesses. I, I think that's what the guy said, okay? Too late.
Foundational.
Ah,
Foundational. Don't start
gotcha.
today.
So, let's see. One of our final questions. We have this one and one more. What role does a man play in shaping a family? And what legacy do you hope to leave for your children and future generations? I'm going to pass this microphone to my pastor.
Legacy.
Read your question again, because I think the Lord had me write the answer down last night. Read the question.
What role does a man play, correction, in shaping a family? And what legacy do you hope to leave for your children and future generations?
Let's start with the legacy.
Okay.
Hope. Because, see, we always want to leave something tangible. We want to put money in a bank. We want to leave them a brick house, cars. They're only going to sell it. They're not going to live in it. They're not going to drive the car. They're going to sell all that. So what we want to leave is hope. And how we leave hope, we have to teach them how to trust in the Lord, how to be a Christian, how to understand that they're going to have to suffer sometimes. See, we want to make sure that they don't have to. I hear people, I don't want my kid to suffer like I had to suffer. Well, that's it. I came through suffering. So my kids, they understand. My kids take after their mother, really. They don't take after me, because I used to spend everything I had. I did everything with my money. I believe the Lord gave me my money for me, and I did what I wanted to do. That's true. Just like the partner said, we going out to tell the truth, so we might as well. He was going to get a handful of napkins. I said, well, do what you got to do, but truth is true. I had two girls. Y'all was talking about the girls. I spoiled my oldest girl. She thought she was a prince. I'm talking about up until now. She'll call now, Daddy. And if I don't, Dad, why? You got it. But the thing is, we have to leave hope. That's the main inheritance we can leave. And I hear all these young men talking about Christ, and you got here by hope. You came through your mental crisis. You came through your crisis, and you realize I have to be accountable, not only to myself, but to my family. And what we do for the family, we are the protector. We are the priests. When they need preaching to, who's going to preach? You, in your house. Don't take them to church for somebody else to preach to them. You know the problem. We everything to our family. To be a father, you're everything. You're not just the baby daddy. I hate to hear somebody say that's my baby daddy. You know why they say it? Because he's never been a father. And they didn't want him to be a father. They love the baby daddy thing. You know why? Because they got 5 baby daddies. They got 5 different children that benefit them because they getting the blessing, not the children. Not the children. I didn't want to do this. See, I told Taisha don't put me in this situation. She did. I told her the other night, I called, said, don't do it. She did it anyway. But that's the thing. That's the thing. Because, see, generations, we go through generations. You might have had a generation of mental illness and didn't even know. And it fell on you because the Bible said it goes through 5 generations. It may skip 4 and hit you. You might have had the same thing. You might have had the same thing. You might have had the same thing. I never went to a psychiatrist. I might have been crazy. But I didn't have that in my generation of people. Because we searched it, it wasn't there. But the thing is, I never heard any of you all say I'm a stepfather. There's no stepfathers.
Okay, sir. So that's what I wanted to point out. You said about the woman having multiple kids by multiple men.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of guys, we were raised by a stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard gentlemen say, I don't want a woman with kids. I want to have my own family. Well, for me, that's kind of a fantasy. I don't know a lot of men that came up that were born in my generation or beyond that got with one woman, respect, and stayed with one woman,
Mm-hmm.
had kids by just one woman. It was not a norm. So for me and meeting the woman that I'm with and her having multiple kids by multiple men, I feel like God put me in that situation.
You their father.
I never say step.
No.
When somebody
You their
asks me about it,
father.
when I take my 5-year-old and her little baby girls together, they're all my daughters.
If
Yeah, these
you in
my
the
three
house,
girls.
you in their house, you
Yes.
raising them, you their father.
Correct.
And that's the only thing they need to hear. Father.
I think you have bonus fathers. I don't think there's no stepfathers anymore because what's necessary for you to make sure that that child has everything that they need goes well beyond just step. So, but to her question, as far as what I feel like my role is in my family, who I've been in the same family for a long time. I look at it like the backbone. I feel like I'm the backbone of my family. You know, it may not be a lot of glory or anything to it, you know, but if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, I don't think my family can stand very tall. You know, they may get by, but I don't think that we can be the best that we can be without me. On the same token, I'm worthless without them. I'd be just a backbone. So that's kind of how I identify my role is I'm the backbone of this family, and I'm gonna move with a certain amount of duty, purpose, and responsibility because I have to stand up, not just for myself, but for all of them, even in the worst of situations. Because we teach our kids to stand tall. We teach our kids to persevere. Well, you can't persevere if you don't go through something.
That's it.
My mother told me, my mother's an evangelist, so you know it's been in me a long time. She said, you know, everybody go through something, but it's up to you whether or not it's a struggle or a testimony. And
Good
I
there.
try to raise my boys like, listen, brother, you got to stand tall. It's what we got to do.
All right. So we are coming to a close. And this question's for each of you. A message to the man who is struggling. What would you say to the man who is smiling in public but is suffering in private? And we can start from that end and we'll work our way down.
Read it one more time. Sorry.
What would you say to the man who is smiling in public but suffering in private?
It's okay, but seek help. It's okay. You're human, but seek help. There's people there. There's people out there. If it's not anybody in your family, seek professional help because eventually that'll weigh heavy not only on your mental but your physical. It'll start showing physically. So please seek help. please seek help. Please talk to someone. Definitely talk to God. Continue to pray. But the main thing is seek help. Seek help.
All right. So mine gonna be a little dual sided. For the men out there, whatever you struggling with, just don't quit. Just whether your solutions bear fruit or don't quit trying to get it right. Just don't quit. But now to the fathers out there, for every struggle you going through, for everything that looks like this is insurmountable, you look at them children you put out there, and if they doing good, doggone it, you doing good. That's all it takes. All I ever needed to get it, because of course we've all been through depression, we've all been through so many struggles, so many different trials and tribulations. I've never once looked at my children and they look back at me and I didn't feel better. Sometimes you got to understand, go seek your salvation. And for the men out there, you got to go find it. But for the fathers, boy, you feeding that salvation every day. That's all I'm saying.
Forgive yourself. If I had anything to tell, like you said, the man out there that's smiling and making it through the day but crying in the shower at night, forgive yourself. Like, you made a mistake, learn from it, and try not to make that same mistake twice. But you have to forgive yourself. Most men beat themselves up for the things they did to themselves more than any way they hurt anybody else. Because I did this to myself. I control that. I did it. I probably knew better, and I did it anyway. Forgive yourself, first and foremost. You have to forgive yourself so you can move on past that trauma. And secondly, love yourself. You have to love who you are. Whether it's good or bad, love yourself. Or because if you don't, no one else will ever be able to love you.
I would say you're not perfect. And I'm real big on control what you can control. A lot of times we suffering over things that we absolutely have no say so in. And if you can just focus on what you can focus on, look yourself in the mirror, take accountability, you can change a lot of things. So, granted, I want to see you smiling and have a reason to be smiling and not be suffering. So, I would say that.
I'm a therapist, so I think I would start asking questions. I think I would ask a guy, are you strong? Yeah. Okay. Well, I wonder how strong you would be if you smiled on the inside and outside. Now just leave the conversation.
Chin up, chest out. There's tomorrow.
The word of God say the battle is not yours. It belongs to the Lord. So a lot of times we fight ourselves and we injure ourselves. But when we learn how to turn everything over to him, it may hurt for a little while. The words say weeping endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. God bless you, man.
So, in closing, remember, strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is having the courage to face it, express it, and heal from it. I'm Taisha M. Bryant, and I love y'all because I can, and there is nothing you can do about it. Until next time, bye-bye.